Anne Marie felt completely safe here in her own home, with her parents in the next room and her best friend asleep beside her. She yawned contently and closed her eyes. It was hours later, still dark, when she was awakened abruptly by the pounding on the apartment door. Anne Marie eased the bedroom door open quietly, only a crack, and peeked out. Behind her, Ellen was sitting up with her eyes wide open. She could see Mama and Papa in their night clothes, moving about. Mama held a lighted candle, but as Anne Marie watched, she went to a lamp and switched it on. It was so long, it was so long a time since they had dared to use strictly rationed, sorry, it was so long a time since they had dared use the strictly rationed electricity after dark that the light in the room seemed startling to Anne Marie. Watching through the slightly open bedroom door, she saw her mother look automatically to the blackout curtains, making certain that they were tightly drawn. Papa opened the front door to the soldiers. "This is the Johansen apartment?" A deep voice asked the question loudly in the terribly accented Danish. "Our name is on the door, and I see you have a flashlight," Papa answered. "What do you want? Is something wrong?" "I understand you are a friend of your neighbors, the Rosen, Mrs. Johansen," the soldier said angrily. "Sophie Rosen is my friend. That is true," Mama said quietly. "Please, could you speak more softly? My children are asleep." "Then you will be so kind as to tell me where the Rosens are." He made no effort to lower his voice. "I assume they're at home, sleeping. It is 4 in the morning, after all," Mama said. Anne Marie heard the soldier stalk across the living room towards the kitchen. From her hiding place in the narrow sliver of the open doorway, she could see the heavy, uniformed man, a holstered pistol at his waist, in the entrance of the kitchen, peering in towards the sink. Another German voice said, "The Rosens' apartment is empty. We are wondering if they might be visiting their good friends, the Johansens." "Well," said Papa, moving slightly so that he was standing in front of Anne Marie's bedroom door, and she could see nothing except the dark blur of his back. "As you see, you are quite mistaken. There is no one here but my family." "You will not object if we look around?" The voice was harsh, and it was not a question. "It seems we have no choice," Papa replied. "Please don't wake my children," Mama requested again. "There is no need to frighten the little ones." The heavy-booted feet moved across the room again and into the other bedroom. A closet door opened and closed with a bang. Anne Marie eased her bedroom door, closed silently. She stumbled through the darkness to the bed. "Ellen, take your necklace off." Ellen's hand flew to her neck. Desperately, she began to try to unhook the tiny clasp. Outside the bedroom door, the harsh voices and heavy footsteps continued. I can't open it," Ellen said frantically. "I've never taken it off. I can't even remember how to open it." Anne Marie heard a voice just outside the door. "What is here?" "Shh, my daughter's bedroom. They are sound asleep." "Hold still," Anne Marie commanded. "This is going to hurt." And she grabbed the little gold chain and she yanked it with all her strength and broke it. And just as the door opened and a light flooded into the bedroom, she crumpled it up in her hand and closed her fingers tightly. Terrified, both girls looked up at 3 Nazi soldiers who entered the room. One of the men aimed a flashlight around the room. He went to the closet, he looked inside, and then, a sweep of his gloved hand, he pushed to the floor several coats and bathrobes that hung from the pegs on the wall. There was nothing else in the room except for a chest of drawers, the blue decorated trunk in the corner, and a heap of Kirsty's dolls piled in a small rocking chair. The flashlight beam touched each thing in turn. Angrily, the officer turned towards the bed. "Get up," he ordered. "Come out here." Trembling, the two girls rose from the bed and followed him, brushing past the two remaining officers in the doorway to the living room. Anne-Marie looked around. These three uniformed men, they were different from the ones on the street corners. The street soldiers were often young and sometimes ill at ease, and Anne-Marie remembered how the giraffe had for a moment let his harsh poise slip and he smiled at Kirsty. But these men, they were older. Their faces were set with anger. Her parents were standing beside each other. Their faces were tense, but Kirsty was nowhere in sight. Oh, thank goodness that Kirsty slept through almost everything. If they had awakened her, she would be wailing, or worse, she would be angry, and her fists would fly. "Your names," the officer barked. "Anne-Marie Johansson. And this is my sister." "Quiet! Let her speak for herself. Your name." He was glaring at Ellen. Ellen swallowed. "Lise," she said, and cleansed her throat. "Lise Johansson." The officer stared at them grimly. "Now," Mama said in a strong voice, "you have seen that we are not hiding anything. May my children go back to bed?" The officer ignored her. Suddenly he grabbed a handful of Ellen's hair. Ellen winced. He laughed scornfully. "You have a blonde child sleeping in the other room, and you have this blonde daughter." He gestured towards Anne-Marie with his head. "Where did you get the dark-haired one?" He twisted the lock of Ellen's hair. "From a different father? From the milkman?" Papa stepped forward. "Don't speak to my wife in such a way. Let go of my daughter, or I will report you for such treatment." "Or maybe you got her somewhere place else," the officer continued with a sneer. "From the Rosens?" For a moment no one spoke. Then Anne-Marie, watching in panic, saw her father move swiftly to the small bookcase. He took out a book. He saw that he was holding the family photograph album. Very quickly he scratched through its pages, found what he was looking for, and tore out 3 pictures from 3 separate pages. He handed them to the officer, who released Ellen's hair. "You will see each of my daughters, each her name written on the photograph," Papa said. Anne-Marie knew instantly which photographs he had chosen. The album had many snapshots, all the poorly focused pictures of school events and birthday parties, but it also contained a portrait taken by a photographer of each girl as an infant baby. Mama had written in her delicate handwriting the name of each baby daughter across the bottom of those photographs. She realized, too, with an icy feeling, why Papa had torn them from the book. At the bottom of each page, below the photograph itself, was written the date, and the real Lise Johansson had been born 21 years earlier. "Kirsten Elizabeth," the officer read, looking at Kirsty's baby picture. He let the photograph fall to the floor. "Anne-Marie," he read next, glanced at her, dropped the second photograph to the floor. "Lise Marguerite," he read finally, and he stared at Ellen for a long, unwavering moment. In her mind, Anne-Marie pictured the photographs that he held. The baby, wide-eyed, propped against a pillow, her tiny hand holding a silver teething ring, her bare feet visible below the hem of an embroidered dress, the wispy curls, dark. The officer tore the photograph in half, and he dropped the pieces to the floor. And then he turned the heels of his shiny boots grinding into the pictures and left the apartment. Without a word, the other two officers followed. Papa stepped forward and closed the door behind him. Anne-Marie relaxed the clenched fingers of her hand, still clutching Ellen's necklace. She looked down and she saw that she had imprinted the Star of David right into her palm. Oh my gosh. That was so suspenseful. Can you imagine? But Anne-Marie was brave. So was Mama, and so was Papa. They were so brave. But wow, how wonderful God works. And just thinking how Papa thought so fast to grab those photographs, that Lise actually had dark hair when she was a baby. Whew. Well, take a breath. That is all we have until next Monday. So enjoy the listening of this reading, and we'll be back to the next chapter, which is the weather good for fishing? I wonder what that means. There's so much symbolism in this book, isn't there? A lot of personification. Okay, my friends, bye. Have a good rest of your Friday. Love you.